Okay, so I'm now going to do some examples of finding the lowest common multiple of these numbers that we have here. And I'm going to do a variety of different methods just to show you that depending on what it is, you might like to use different things. So I'm going to start off with A, and I'm going to do the multiples of 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, etc. I'll do the multiples of 25, 50, 75. Oh look, I've already found it. I've already found that the multiple that they have in common is 50, meaning that the lowest common multiple is 50. Okay, let's have a look at B. This time we've got 72 and 60. I'm going to use probably my table method for this. I quite like the table method. So with my 72 and 60, I'm going to divide first of all by 2, because I can see that they're definitely in the 2 times table. Half of 72 is 36, and half of 60 is 30. Well, I can see that these are actually both in the 6 times table, so I'm going to go straight to putting the 6 there. 36 divided by 6 is 6, and 30 divided by 6 is 5. Now 6 and 5 have got no more common factors other than 1, so actually I'm just going to stop at this stage here. And for the lowest common multiple, you make that L shape of the 2, the 6, the 6, and the 5. So this means the lowest common multiple is 2 times 6 times 6 times 5. Well, 2 times 6 is 12. 6 times 5 is 30. So I'm just going to do 12 times 3, which is 36. And then because of the 0 with the 30, I'll just add on an extra 0. So we get the lowest common multiple is 360. Now I'm going to have a look at C. C is something maybe you could spot very quickly, but I'm going to try it with, I'll show you probably a table method for this one as well, because I think this one is going to be pretty easy for a table method. Now you might be able to do this one just by spotting it if you look at the properties of 12 and 48. But I can see that both of them, actually, straight away, I can tell they're in the 12 times table. So that would leave me with a 1 and a 4. So I kind of wanted to show you this example because there isn't actually even like an L shape here, but it would be these parts and the bottom part that we've got here. So it's going to be the 12, the 1, and the 4. So the lowest common multiple is the 12 times the 1 times the 4, which is just 12 times 4, which is 48. And I guess you could see that happening because if you wrote out the 12 times table, the fourth one would be 48, and they would overlap because the first multiple of 48 is also 48. I'll also quickly do that one. Why don't I do the 12 and the 48? I'll do it in the prime factor method as well. So 12 and 48, we know that 12 is 2 squared times 3, and 48, I'll put it into prime factor form. 48 shift fact is 2 to the power of 4 times 3. So the lowest common multiple, what's the thing that's going to win? Very quickly we can see from the powers of 2, it is the 2 to the power of 4. From the powers of 3, there's a draw, so it's just 2 to the power of 4 times 3, which is also 48. So D, I'm probably going to do a couple of different methods for this. We have 12, 24, and 40, and I've said here, note the table method, you actually wouldn't want to use the table method for all 3 of them because sometimes it doesn't work. What you can do instead is find the lowest common multiple of 2 of them and then do the table again with the third one. So I'm going to do part D using the table method. I'm going to do 12 and 24, and then afterwards I'll do that answer with 40. So with 12 and 24, if I divide them both by 2, I would get 6 and 12. Oh, they're both in the 6 times table, which leaves me with a 1 and a 2. So the lowest common multiple of these, that L shape, which is 2 times 6 times 1 times 2, well, I don't need to include the 1, and that is actually just 24. Okay, so now I'm just going to find the lowest common multiple of 24, which was the answer here, and the other number that was in my list, which is 40. So the lowest common multiple of these two was 24. Now I'm just going to find the lowest common multiple of their lowest common multiple and 40. So I'm going to do 24 and 40, see what times table they're both in. I think the quickest thing I can see that the times table they're in is the 8 times table. 24 divided by 8 is 3, and 40 divided by 8 is 5. I can't go any further with that because 3 and 5 have only got 1 in common. So I'm just going to multiply those. Obviously it would be the L shape, but we're not going to have that bit above the 8. So the lowest common multiple of these ones are going to be the 8 times the 3 times the 5. So that is 24 multiplied by 5, which is 120. So the final answer for this question is 120. But I'll show you what that would look like if we did it with the prime factor decomposition instead. So if I'm going to have my 12, my 24, and my 40, 12 is 2 squared times 3. 24 is 2 cubed times 3. And 40, just to check on here, actually 40 is very obviously going to be 2 cubed times 5. 2 cubed times 5. And you'll notice how I put a 5 in the different section. I didn't put it with the 3 section. So when we split this up into the different parts that we've got, remember we're doing the lowest common multiple, so it's going to be the highest of each of these sections. The highest power here is 2 cubed, the highest is 3, and the highest is 5. So the lowest common multiple is 2 cubed times 3 times 5. 2 cubed is 8, and we've still got the 3 times 5, which is exactly the same as we've got here. So we do know that the lowest common multiple is 120. Now I'm going to do E. I think this one, I'll do both methods for E. We've got 315 and 3,520. Let me just quickly add in a blank page here. So the numbers that we're going to do for E were 315 and 3520. I'll do the table method. I can see they can both be divided by 5 because they end in a 5 and a 0, and it does say that a calculator is allowed here. So 315 divided by 5 is 63. 3,520 divided by 5 is 704. Now, what times tables do we think these could both be in? Well, let's see. I know that 63 is in the 7 times table and the 9 times table, so I'm going to check if this is divisible by 7. I'll do 704 divided by 7, and it is not. Okay, so maybe that's where we're going to have to stop. I guess we could check by doing the prime factor decomposition of 704, and it's 2 to the power of 6 times 11. Now, 2 to the power of 6, or 2, isn't a factor of 63, nor is 11. So actually, I think that's where we've got to stop for this one. So we're going to just have to say that the lowest common multiple is 5 times 63 times 704, which might be a very large number. 5 times 63 times 704, 221,760. Now this is why I don't really like the table method, because we had to see what do they both divisible by. So let's try the other method for this. I think this one is probably better to do prime factor decomposition, especially as we're allowed a calculator. So 315, let's type that into the calculator and then press shift and then fact. It is 3 squared times 5 times 7. 3 squared times 5 times 7. And then we'll do 3,520. I'll press equals, shift, fact. That's 2 to the power of 6 times 5 times 11. 2 to the power of 6 times 5 times 11. Notice how I've put them in their own kind of sections. So the 11 has its own column, as does the 2. So when I'm going to be doing the lowest common multiple that we've got here, in fact, we're going to be picking these different higher parts. The 2 to the power of 6 is higher, 3 squared is higher than the blank. Either of those 5s we could use, the 7 and the 11. So the lowest common multiple for this one, let's stick with the red colour that we've got, is going to be 2 to the power of 6 times 3 squared times 5 times 7 times 11. I shall return to the calculator for that. So that's 2 to the power of 6 times 3 squared times 5 times 7 times 11. And we do get the same answer of 221,760. So you need to decide which one do you think is going to be better for which kinds of numbers. I think probably simple numbers you could just do listing or just looking at them, and I personally prefer a bit of a combination really. So these questions that you've got, I want you to try these 5 here. You can pause the video and have a go. I'm probably just going to do one method for each of these for which one I think I prefer. Okay, so pause the video and have a go, but I'm going to start these right now. So with 15 and 12, I probably just prefer the table method for this one. So I'm going to divide both of them by 3, and I can't go any further than that. So the lowest common multiple for 15 and 12 is 3 times 5 times 4. 5 times 4, I'll do these 2 bits first, is 20. So it's 3 times 20, which is 60. So the lowest common multiple of these is 60. Probably going to do the table method again for 40 and 50. Again, you might be able to just tell what this one is. I can tell they're both in the 10 times table, so that will take me down with a 4 and a 5. I should have highlighted here, we've got that kind of L shape here, the L shape here. 4 and 5 have got nothing else in common. So the lowest common multiple is 10 times 4 times 5. That is going to be 200. So the lowest common multiple is 200. C, we're going to do 32 and 30. I think I do prefer the table method for these kinds of ones. They can both be divided by 2, so I get down to 16 and 15. I don't think 16 and 15 have got anything else in common, so I'm going to be doing those parts for the lowest common multiple. The lowest common multiple is going to be the 2, 16, and the 15. Well, 2 times 16 is 32. 32 times 15, you could either do that by hand or we'll just go on the calculator. And the lowest common multiple is 480. Now when I've got 3 numbers, I don't really like having to do this twice. So the like a table method for these and then a table method for this answer with this one. So I'm probably going to do D using the prime factor decomposition method. So 10 I know is 2 times 5. I might put that 5 there, I can always move it if I need to. And 45, well 45 is 9 times 5, which is 3 squared times 5. Now, of course, you might want to spend a bit longer trying to work out the prime factor decomposition, or you could use the calculator, but I'm going a little bit quicker here. 105, okay, with 105, well, I know that 105 has 5 as one of the factors. 5 goes into 105 21 times, so I think it's actually going to be 3 times 5 times 7. But remember, you can check that in your calculator. If you do 105 and then shift fact, it is 3 times 5 times 7. So now I'm going to draw my lines down for each section, and I'm going to pick the highest power for the lowest common multiple, kind of the opposite of what you'd expect. The highest power for the beginning one is 2, then we've got a 3 squared, any of those 5s, and that's 7 that we've got there. So that's 2 times 3 squared times 5 times 7. Well, this is going to be 2 times 9, which is 18, and 5 times 7 is 35. So you can either calculate that manually or using a calculator. 18 times 35 is 630. So the lowest common multiple of those numbers is 630. And again, we've got some not very nice numbers here, so I'm going to do the prime factor decomposition. We've got 252 and 693. So we're going to do 252 and 693. It's calculator allowed. So 252, shift fact, is 2 squared times 3 squared times 7. 693 equals, shift fact, is 3 squared times 7 times 11. Looking at each different section that we've got, we're going to pick the highest power. So the highest power is a 2 squared, a 3 squared, a 7, and an 11. So the lowest common multiple is 2 squared times 3 squared times 7 times 11. 2 squared times 3 squared times 7 times 11 is 2,772. Which maybe isn't quite as big as we would have expected. Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to be doing a couple of worded problems, and that will finish us with the lowest common multiple. Found this video helpful? Then why not drop it a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If you'd like the next video in the playlist, you can click here to be taken straight to it. And as always, wishing you the very best for all your studies.